My parents compelled me to leave school so that I could take on the role of an unpaid nanny for my younger brother. Feeling trapped and desperate, I decided to run away. Now, my mother is relentlessly tracking me down, making threats of kidnapping, after she failed in her attempts to bring me back home. I'm a 15-year-old girl, and as the new school year approaches, I'm set to enter my junior year of high school. Alongside me is my little brother, Matt, whom I affectionately call Matt 3M. Both of my parents are employed full-time in the business district. I was a baby that my parents had planned for, but Matt wasn't. In fact, my parents had considered putting him up for adoption, though they ultimately couldn't go through with it. They remain unaware of my knowledge about their initial thoughts regarding adoption. Everything changed when my mother ended her maternity leave 2 weeks earlier than planned. There was a detailed schedule in place outlining who would take care of Matt when Mom left for work at 4:30 a.m. She would wake me up and I would watch Matt until I needed to leave for school at 7 a.m. By then, my father would be up and would take over the responsibilities. After school, I'd return home at around 3:45 p.m. and my dad would leave for his job by 4 p.m. At that point, I'd take care of Matt until my mom came home at 6 p.m. This routine continued smoothly for the first year, and I was managing well with the responsibilities. However, recently, my mom has changed her work hours to start later in the day. This shift means that I now have to watch Matt until she gets home, which is typically between 10 o'clock and 11 p.m. In addition to this, I handle all the household chores that need to be done. On top of my responsibilities at home, I'm enrolled in advanced placement, AP, classes, and have a substantial amount of homework to complete. Matt has always had health issues since birth that cause him discomfort, and while I understand he's just a toddler, his frequent tantrums and overall demeanor make it incredibly challenging for me to stay on top of everything. The two incidents that really pushed me over the edge happened just a week before the school year ended, back in May. I finally gathered the courage to talk to my mom and requested that we hire a sitter to help take care of Matt. I wanted to engage in some extracurricular activities, but her response was dismissive. She argued that they didn't need to spend money on a sitter, because they already had me. 2 days after that conversation, my mom arrived home earlier than usual at 5 p.m. She had just returned from work, and after having dinner, she suggested that I talk to my school about reducing my class load next year so I could spend more time at home. She mentioned that my dad also wanted to adjust his work hours. When I refused her suggestion, she became angry, insisting that I needed to be more understanding and accepting of the situation. I reached my breaking point and exploded. Although I can't recall every word that was said, I distinctly remember shouting that I wasn't responsible for parenting my little brother. In a fit of rage, I stormed off to my room, packed some belongings into my backpack, and left the house while my mom was preoccupied with Matt. Feeling a sense of relief that I was safe, I called my grandmother to explain what was happening. Even though my grandmother and my mother are estranged, we've managed to maintain a close relationship. Once she heard my situation, she understood immediately. My parents reacted by bombarding me with phone calls, demanding that I come back home, and telling me that I should feel ashamed of my actions. My grandmother took decisive action by blocking my parents' numbers. She then spoke with them, and they eventually agreed that I could stay with her until I could regain my composure and figure things out. While I do feel guilty about leaving Matt behind, the exhaustion I've been feeling is overwhelming. Among my extended family, some members support my decision, while others believe I need to fulfill my duties and endure the situation. I'm torn and uncertain about what steps to take next. Update in the comments ***. On the same day, I provided an update in the comments section, because posting it publicly pushed me beyond my limits. I'm grateful to everyone who responded with supportive comments. Their encouragement has strengthened my resolve. Some suggested I discuss hiring a sitter or setting boundaries with my parents. I've tried addressing these issues before, but they dismissed my concerns, saying it was too expensive and praised me for doing such a good job as the big sister, insisting it was my duty to care for Matt. Curious, I researched the concept of parentification, a term I hadn't heard before, and realized it perfectly described my situation. My grandmother is now consulting with an attorney to arrange for me to live with her for the remaining 2 years of high school. After graduation, I plan to attend college out of state. Thank you once again for all your kind words. If anything significant happens, I'll inform you all. The community has voted that I'm not the asshole, NTA, in this situation. Asterisk asterisk further update post on July 16, 2023 asterisk asterisk. Nearly a month has passed since my initial update, and quite a few developments have occurred. I want to keep this concise while expressing my gratitude for all the supportive comments. Both my grandmother and I appreciate how much your support has meant to us. Firstly, my father managed to find my post despite my efforts to keep it private. He informed my mother, who then criticized me to our extended family via social media, claiming I made them look bad. She promptly deleted the post a few hours later. According to my cousins, who support me, a few days later, during a meeting with my parents, myself, my grandmother, and our lawyer, my father apologized sincerely to me. However, my mother remained angry and silent. Matt stayed at their house with one of my aunts. Reluctantly, my mother agreed to transfer full custody of me to my grandmother for the remaining 3 years of my minor status. The following day, my grandmother and some supportive family members helped me retrieve my belongings from my parents' house. I didn't feel a true sense of relief until I completed that task. Now, I'm trying to enjoy my summer by spending time with friends, swimming, and relaxing. I'm finally reading books I bought 3 years ago, but never had the chance to read. I'm planning extracurricular activities for the next semester, and even organizing my first birthday party in 3 years for my sweet 16 in February. Additionally, I'm helping my grandmother around the house and doing chores, but this time I receive an allowance for my efforts. My sleep has significantly improved, and although this new way of living feels a bit overwhelming, I've never been happier. Hopefully, this will be the last time I post about this situation. I'm planning to log off Reddit and go shopping with my grandmother. Thank you all once again for your support. Asterisk asterisk relevant comments asterisk asterisk. One commenter asked if I had gathered all my documents. Yes, my lawyer accompanied us when we collected my belongings and requested all my important documents. My father handed them over, while my mother hid them in the master bedroom. I made sure to completely sever contact with her when I first left the house. My grandmother blocked their numbers, and I blocked all their social media and email accounts. I don't harbor any hatred towards them, life is too short for such negativity. I don't even feel angry anymore, just disappointed and let down. When I'm not around, they haven't neglected or abused Matt before, as far as I know. My mom would get frustrated because of how fussy he was, but there was never any abuse. My dad was more patient with him. I believe they genuinely thought I had some special ability to manage Matt's behavior and keep him calm. I hope to reconnect with him once he's older, but given our mother's current state, who knows what the future holds. Asterisk asterisk update post 2 on February 18, 2024, 7 months later asterisk asterisk. Hello everyone. I previously shared my story in the IDA subreddit about the conflict between myself and my parents, mainly my mother. To summarize, I was forced into a role of parentification, dedicating 90 to 99% of my free time to caring for my younger brother. I eventually reached my breaking point and ran away to my grandmother's house, where my parents surrendered legal custody to her. For more details, please refer to my earlier posts. Since then, things have been going smoothly. I'm doing well in school, participating in extracurricular activities like robotics and the debate team, and still have time to read and hang out with friends. I've started communicating with my dad again, though it's only over the phone and mostly involves small talk about school and updates on Matt. I haven't spoken directly to my mother since the custody transfer. The last time I talked to my dad, he mentioned that Matt had become more agitated since I left, and that they had hired a nanny to help out. Both my parents had to reduce their work hours as a result. This past Saturday, I celebrated my dream birthday party, which was themed around books. My cake was designed to look like a stack of books, and the snacks were inspired by literary genres. Everyone came dressed as book characters, and I dressed up as Sherlock Holmes. The venue was cozy and private, making it a relaxed and enjoyable event. My grandmother hired security to ensure only invited guests attended, as a few bullies from school had threatened to crash the party. The event went smoothly for a few hours, and most guests left, leaving only my grandmother, myself, one of the guards, and my two closest friends. I stepped out to use the restroom, and upon returning, one of my friends informed me that my mother had arrived and was demanding to see me. I hadn't informed anyone in my family about the party, not my dad or the supportive relatives, because I feared this exact situation. I also didn't post anything on social media. Hearing my grandmother yelling, I decided to confront the situation myself. The security guard was holding my mom back, and my grandmother was visibly angry. As soon as my mother saw me, she became irate, screaming that I was a disgrace and that she would never let me go. She demanded that I come home immediately. I didn't feel scared or angry, just exhausted. I calmly told her I was going to call the police, and that I was filing a no-contact order against her. She became pale, screamed one last time, and then fled in her car, speeding away. I was relieved that the confrontation didn't happen during the party, but it left me shaken. My grandmother and I are scheduled to speak with our attorney the next day. I'm still puzzled about how my mother found out about the party, which is what worries me the most. It feels like narcissistic parents have an uncanny ability to repeatedly sabotage their children's lives. I'm beginning to realize that I might have to be vigilant and cautious around my mom for the rest of my life. *** relevant comments ***. One commenter asked if my parents are trying to ruin my life whenever they can. Yes, they continuously attempt to undermine me because they refuse to acknowledge their own faults. They are too self-absorbed to exercise common sense and always place the blame on others. Another commenter inquired if I've spoken to my dad since the incident, or if I plan to. I haven't spoken to him since the latest confrontation, but I don't want to cut him off. He seems genuinely apologetic for what I've endured and is making efforts to change, based on our conversations. I haven't informed him about the party, so he couldn't have told my mother. I do plan to call him today to discuss what happened after my mother left. Another user suggested that my mother might be tracking my phone, which spooked me. My grandmother and I checked thoroughly and found no evidence of tracking. We're also considering getting new phones. I'm currently in therapy, which has been instrumental in helping me deal with the guilt and pressure from running away. Despite the overwhelming urge to give in and return home, I knew that wasn't what I truly wanted. Returning would have only led to more unnecessary sacrifices. Update, post 3 on March 4, 2024, 2 weeks later Apologies for the delay in this update. A lot has transpired, and I've been busy with schoolwork. I spoke with my dad and explained what happened at the party. He sounded horrified and apologized profusely, though I told him not to blame himself. He assured me he'd investigate further and get back to me. Meanwhile, we consulted with our lawyer, who agreed with my decision to file a no-contact order against my mother. The process is currently underway. My grandmother also reached out to my school to ensure that my mother would not be allowed on campus, or have access to any information about me. Both my grandmother and I have acquired new phones, and my grandmother had her car thoroughly checked for any tracking devices, but none were found. I reviewed my friends' social media accounts, and saw nothing related to the party before it happened, which left me baffled. 5 days later, my dad called me with an update. Apparently, he exerted significant pressure on my mother, leading her to finally admit that she had encountered another parent at a store. This parent was the mother of one of my recent friends who couldn't attend the party. They mentioned that my mom wasn't fully aware of the ongoing drama between us and provided just enough information for my mom to piece together the location of the party. I'm grateful that she couldn't obtain the exact time of the event, as she attempted to contact the venue, but found it was password protected and received no information. She didn't express any regret over her actions and even suggested that she would wait until school was out to try and drag me back home by force. Just typing that out made me shiver and feel nauseous. My dad was appalled by her behavior, and it became the final straw. They had a massive argument, and to make a long story short, my dad announced he was done. He's currently in the process of moving out and staying in a hotel. He's also filing for divorce and seeking full custody of Matt. Additionally, he offered to pay the nanny extra to hire her directly for Matt's care. Even the relatives on my mother's side have started to distance themselves from her. She remains adamant that she did nothing wrong and blames me for being ungrateful and disloyal. Despite everything, there is hope for my relationship with my dad and brother. I believe we can build a better relationship in the future, provided my mother remains out of the picture. Only time will tell. In response to a comment on my last post asking if I plan to completely cut my mother out of my life once the no-contact order is filed, I clarified that I don't want to, as she is my mother. However, given her current behavior, I feel I have no choice for the sake of my safety and mental, physical, and emotional well-being. She doesn't have my best interests at heart, only her own, and it's unfortunate, but not my fault that she's become this way. Story 2 ***. Family and friends sabotaged my marriage by making me paranoid about my wife cheating. After our divorce, I confronted them, and they admitted to trying to steal her away. I've been divorced for almost 2 years now. A few weeks ago, while very drunk, my father, 67, my 2 brothers, 37 and 40, and 4 friends, 35, 37, 38, and 41, joked about how they couldn't believe I left my wife. They confessed that they all tried to pursue her since the divorce, but she consistently rejected their advances, saying it would be inappropriate and unkind to pursue me. Initially, I laughed it off to lighten the mood, but once they realized I was taking it seriously, they began to open up. They had all deliberately made me feel paranoid about my ex-wife cheating on me and exploiting me financially. They questioned why a woman like her would be with someone like me if it wasn't for my income. They frequently hinted at her behavior, sometimes directly stating that she was the dominant partner in the relationship, and that she was only with me because I was easily manipulated. They consistently planted negative thoughts in my mind, and whenever I tried to discuss issues in my relationship with them, they would twist the narrative or offer terrible advice. During the COVID-19 pandemic, when I lost my job, they intensified their manipulation, suggesting that she was now cheating on me since there was no longer a financial incentive for her to remain faithful. Trusting them implicitly, I took their words to heart, which ultimately destroyed my marriage. I frequently argued with my wife, constantly accusing her of infidelity and doubting her love for me. I questioned every aspect of our relationship, telling her that I was a high-value man who deserved appreciation. When I was unemployed for 6 months, I reversed my behavior and began accusing her of disrespecting me for not working. I criticized her for being unappreciative of all her hard work in managing our household bills and other expenses during my unemployment. My family and friends' manipulative words drove me into a state of paranoia, leading me to accuse her of cheating with her co-workers. Eventually, my wife couldn't tolerate my mood swings and incessant accusations. She left me. At the time, it felt like her departure came out of nowhere, but now I understand that my own actions, heavily influenced by my family's manipulation, were the true cause. Now, I realize that every man I considered family or friend was actually an enemy who contributed to the downfall of my marriage. I acknowledge that I lost my mind due to their manipulation and let them destroy my marriage. There were even physical altercations. I didn't mention the violence earlier because I didn't want my post to be banned. Blood was spilled, and I was physically beaten with 7 against 1. However, I did manage to defend myself, resulting in damage that required ambulance and police intervention. None of us pressed charges against each other, and we simply walked away from the incident. Despite this, I remain angry and heartbroken. Update on March 4, 2024, 6 days later ***. On Sunday, I finally met up with my ex-wife to apologize. I expressed my deep regret for everything that happened, and she was kind and understanding but explained that she couldn't forgive me. She stated that forgiveness isn't in her nature, but she doesn't hold any grudges or anger towards me. She wishes me nothing but the best in life. She offered some advice, pointing out that I had been in an abusive relationship my entire life and that to heal, I needed to cut ties with my father, as he set the negative tone for how my family treated me. She highlighted the many ways my father had hurt me and encouraged my family to mistreat me. She emphasized that I would remain stuck and unhappy if I continued to associate with my family and former friends. I assured her that I had already cut them out of my life and mentioned that I had my first therapy session scheduled in a few days. She expressed pride in me for taking the first step towards healing. Our conversation was deeply emotional and heart-wrenching as we discussed the numerous ways our marriage had failed and the abuse I endured from my father and family. We cried together throughout the entire conversation, sharing a long, heartfelt hug before saying our goodbyes. Final comment from OP ***. Forgiveness must be earned through changed behavior and acknowledgement of the harm caused. It's not something that's automatically granted, or something one necessarily deserves. Some things shouldn't be forgiven, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that the lack of forgiveness will consume a person, or prevent them from moving forward. I agree with my ex-wife's perspective that forgiveness isn't a prerequisite for healing, or achieving emotional maturity. Sometimes, forgiveness simply isn't an option, and that's perfectly fine. It's one of those situations where she can't and won't forgive, and all I can do is accept that reality. As much as I wish for her forgiveness, it isn't available to me, and that's perfectly okay.